Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the California Department of Veterans Affairs and the California Transition Assistance Program, we'd like to welcome you to this morning's webinar in partnership with College of the Canyons, titled Building Better Mental Health. My name is Derek Rose. I am a training coordinator for the California Transition Assistance Program team. And today we are going to provide you a wealth of information about California specific state veterans benefits. And then we will transition into our topic for today. So we just wanted to say welcome. Thank you for spending a portion of your morning with us. And we're excited to share this information with you about your benefits in California as a veteran and the overall topic of building better mental health. So with that, we will go ahead and push through and kind of get started. So we just want to kind of provide some general housekeeping items just for this meeting. Number one is that if you are not a speaker or presenter for today, to please just keep your microphones muted for the presentation, as well as turn off your video camera. This will just kind of help eliminate some of the distractions and save on bandwidth for the rest of the presentation. As far as the agenda, I just kind of highlighted it. So we will go over briefly a little bit of background and information on the California Transition Assistance Program and kind of dive in a little bit more specifically about what your California veterans benefits are. After that, we will transition to our Los Angeles region link, who is Anthony Rodriguez, who's joining us today, and he will provide you some information about some local resources there in the Los Angeles County area and how he can help you get plugged in to the Los Angeles network benefits. And then we are honored to have Marie Barros from US Vets Outside of the Wire. And we're thankful that she's joining us today, and she's going to provide a great presentation and a wealth of information about building better mental health, specifically during this time that we're in. So we really have a lot of information to provide you. So we're excited that you're joining us, and we will go ahead and push through. I just wanted to touch on, at the end of the presentation, after we've covered all of our information, we are going to open it up to a virtual question and answers panel. If you have any questions on some of the things we touched on, some of the benefits that we mentioned, we do ask that you utilize the Zoom chat feature and send those questions to the CalTAP questions tab. My colleague on the other end who's monitoring, his name is Kirk Eller, he will field those questions for you, and then he will send those to the appropriate subject matter expert, whether that's us if we can answer it, or for Anthony or Marie. So please just utilize that chat feature if you do have questions. So with that, we will go ahead and get started on the CalTAP overview. Like I mentioned, my name is Derek Rose. I'm a CalTAP training coordinator, United States Navy veteran, separated active duty 2011. I went back to school as a student veteran, ended up getting my degree, and now I'm with CalVet and the CalTAP team. So as a veteran, as a former student veteran, it's really cool, and I'm honored to be able to come back here, kind of come full circle and speak to you all today and provide you information. So I really appreciate your time and allowing us to give you this information today. So what is the CalTAP program exactly? Well, it's designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned federal and state benefits. We really want to emphasize that we provide services to veterans of all eras, not just post 9/11 veterans or recently separated veterans, because we know that certain veterans' needs change over time. So we've created our learning pathways to really, kind of adapt and address all of the veterans' needs in California. And the way that we've done that is through our 5 key pathways, as you can see right here. We have our core curriculum pathway, our education, employment, entrepreneurship, and service provider pathways. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of show you how to navigate our CalTAP webpage and show you how to get started if your transition brings you to either one of these areas. We're going to show you there's a wealth of information for you to kind of get started if you're looking to dive into one of those tracks. So if you wanted to kind of get started and find out a little bit more about CalTAP, you can always go to our webpage, calvet.ca.gov, and you can click right there, as you can see. And that will bring you to Calvet's main home screen. And you can see right there, kind of in the middle to the right, is the CalTAP specific icon. And that will bring you a little bit down here. Okay, so I just wanted to take a step back. So if you go to our main page, this is the bottom of our main home screen on Calvet. We just wanted to show you the link for our California Veterans Resource book. So if you clicked on that link right there, that'll give you a PDF version of this hard copy edition, which is the California Veterans Resource book. That's going to be a great resource for you if you wanted to find out about all of your veterans benefits, whether it's federal, state, local. It's really an A to Z listing of everything possible that you could be entitled to as a veteran. So we really want to highlight that. And I believe my colleague is going to be sending that through the chat feature so that you guys will be able to just download that immediately and save it to your desktop so that you guys can have a copy of that as well. So we just wanted to show you that information. So to get to the CalTAP page, you can kind of go from our main page right there, as you can see, the CalTAP icon. So if you clicked that, that will bring you to the California Transition Assistance Programs page. And there you can see all of those pathways that I mentioned earlier. But for the purpose of today's presentation, we want to get started and focus on core curriculum pathway. So if you clicked on core curriculum pathway, that will bring you to all of the learning modules within that core curriculum. And as you can see, it's basically Veterans Benefits 101, right? You have resources for enrolling in healthcare, filing, claims and compensation filing, citizenship resources, financial literacy resources, information on discharge upgrades. So it's really a wealth of information, but what we want to do is we want to focus on Module 5, which are the California benefits. So if you clicked on Module 5 and went to California benefits, I know this screen's a little small, but this will basically give you a link to basically all of the lessons or the learning, basically a PDF lesson of the California Veterans Benefits Overview. This is something that we've created, but it mirrors the Veterans Resource book. So everything that we talk about, it's also in that Veterans Resource book as well, but these are our own designed PDF lessons. So you can kind of read a little bit more about each one of those, but I will kind of touch on each one of those right now. So you're probably asking, well, what exactly are my California benefits? You've already mentioned it a few times. So we will go ahead and push through and kind of give an overview of each one of those PDF lessons. Like I just mentioned, again, it's all in our Veterans Resource book, and you can go and find out more information there as well. So one of our most utilized benefits here in the state is the college and tuition fee waiver for veterans dependents. And what that does is that waives tuition and fees at any state-funded school, as long as it's a UC, CSU, or a California community college for dependents of veterans with a service-connected disability. That service-connected disability can be as small as a 0% rating, which means that you as the veteran are not receiving any type of compensation from VA, but as long as you have a rating of 0%, your children can go to any school here in California tuition free. So that's a great benefit. And as you can see, it saves veterans several $1,000,000 a year in tuition costs. So it's a great program. We also partner with the DMV on a few different programs. One of the main ones that we have is the Veterans Driver's License Designation. That allows you to have the word veteran printed on your driver's license or ID card. And that's just kind of a way to have that designation so you don't have to carry around your paper copy of your DD-214 to get all of those veterans benefits or discounts, whether it's at the store or restaurants or anything like that. It's just a nice way to show that you're a veteran. There's the license plate program. It's the Honoring Veterans License Plate. That's a way for you to personalize your license plate. It says Honoring Veterans on the license plate, and it allows you to personalize it with either a logo or an emblem from your era of service, your branch of service, maybe a certain campaign that you served in. So it's just a way to kind of personalize that for your vehicle. And there's also the motor vehicle registration fee waiver. It's important to note that to be eligible for that, you do have to have a significant service-connected disability that impairs your mobility. And you can find out a little bit more information on that through our website, kind of exactly what the eligibility criteria is and how to get plugged in so that you can have that verification before you go to the DMV to apply for that. So just keep that in mind. And that's just a link, a little bit more information about the Veterans Driver's License eligibility and requirements, and where you can go to get that designation. So outdoor activities, California has a lot to offer as far as outdoor activities, whether it's fishing, hunting, state parks. So if you are eligible, it does require a service-connected disability from VA as well. But if you have that eligibility, you can apply for a reduced fee on your fishing and hunting license. You also could be eligible for a distinguished veteran state parks pass, which allows you no cost use of all basic state parks. So it's parking, day use, and things of that nature. So that's available to you as well. You would actually apply for those specifically through either the California Department of Fish and Wildlife or California State Parks to get either one of those benefits. Tax programs. One program that we offer is the Disabled Veteran Property Tax Exemption. That program is available for veterans with a 100% service-connected disability from VA. And if you have that eligibility, you can apply through your local county assessor's office, and they will determine what exemption amount you could be eligible for in that county. It's a different exemption amount based on where you live, just because of how property values are assessed. So it's not a set figure of how much you're exempt from. So if you do have that eligibility, please reach out to your county assessor's office so they can tell you a little bit more information, and it's a great benefit as well. There's the business license tax and fee exemption. If you wanted to sell any goods or products or services and you needed your business license to do so, you could apply through your local issuing authority for that license, whether it's city, county, I believe state as well. So you can reach out to them and see the eligibility for waiving that requirement for that business license fee. There's also the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Program. That's I would personally just say that's more of an entrepreneurship pathway program. But if you wanted to start a business here in the state of California and you are a disabled veteran, you could actually have that designation. It's an acronym, DVBE, and that will allow you a preference on bidding for state contracts. So if you wanted to start a business that would supply a service or a product to the state of California, you could have that designation, and the state of California actually, by law, has to award a certain amount of their contracting dollars to disabled veteran business programs. So just keep that in mind if entrepreneurship is on your radar as far as your transition process. So Calvet Home Loans, that's another one of our most utilized benefits here in the state. What I would recommend is, if you're interested in home ownership here in the state of California, to please reach out to our dedicated staff at our Calvet headquarters building and our home loans program specifically, so that they can work with you. It's a great program. It's a very personalized process. And I would just have to defer to our team at Calvet if you wanted to reach out about home ownership here in the state of California. Just some quick highlights. It can provide full financing for the veteran. There's very competitive interest rates, and oftentimes you can get into a home with a low or even no down payment requirements. It is different from the VA home loan that you probably are all familiar with. I guess the one major difference between VA home loan and a Calvet home loan is that if you have a Calvet home loan, your mortgage is paid to Calvet. It's paid to the state of California. If you have a VA home loan, you're still going through a private lender and going through all of the qualifications and credit scores and FICO scores and things of that nature. So Calvet, it does use your VA home loan eligibility, but it's different from the VA home loan. So again, if, like I said, if you're interested or want to find out more, perhaps we can put the link to our Calvet Home Loans page in the chat, and you can find out a little bit more about the Calvet Home Loan Program. So we also have our Calvet Women's Veterans Affairs Division at our headquarters, and that program provides information, advocacy, outreach, and support to all of our California women's veterans. The cool thing about that program is that will actually plug you in to a network of other women veterans in the state. And, maybe that network is comprised of, entrepreneurs, mentorship programs, other business owners, and other women veterans who can kind of network with you and work with you in your transition and kind of help maybe get you started in other programs, whether it's starting a business or things like that. So it's a really cool program. So if you are a women veteran and you want to find out more, please feel free to reach out to our Women's Veterans Affairs Division at Calvet, and it's a great program. And you can find out a little bit about that more on our webpage as well. You would just click on our Women's Veterans link right there, and it'll give you all the information for that program. And the same thing with our Minority Veterans Affairs Division. We, of course, pride ourselves here in California on our minority veterans outreach, and it's the same thing: advocacy, outreach, and support to California's minority veterans. And this program specifically assists unnaturalized veterans here in California with citizenship and naturalization resources. So if you wanted to find out more, please refer to our website as well. That's our Minority and Underrepresented Veterans Affairs page with their contact information and a little bit more specifically about their program. So our Calvet Veterans Homes here in the state of California. Calvet, we manage and operate 8 veterans homes here in this state, and you can see where those locations are. And those homes provide long-term care for veterans um, needing medical care, skilled nursing care as well. Those homes, just like I said, they are available from independent living all the way through skilled nursing facilities. So I know that's probably a long way down the road, but when the time of need does come about, you are eligible to apply for residency in a CalVet Veterans Home. You can see those locations. So if you're interested in finding out more, when that time of need does come about, you can always refer to our webpage at CalVet and find out a little bit more information. State cemeteries as well. You may be familiar that there's the National Cemetery Administration through the VA, the federal VA, but we here at the state, we also operate 3 state cemeteries on our own. And those locations, as you can see right there, are in Seaside, Reading, and Yountville. The Yountville Cemetery is specifically for residents residents at that Yountville Veterans Home. So just keep that in mind as well. But there are 3 locations here in the state that are operated by the California Department of Veterans Affairs. And that's where you can find out a little bit more about cemetery and burial eligibility and information. You can find out more about state cemeteries, national cemeteries, exactly what the burial benefits are, and how to establish your pre-need burial determination or eligibility. So like I said, when that time of need does come, there's no hurdles or anything with your family trying to get the information to VA for your eligibility. So keep that in mind. So some common veteran websites that you might come across in your transition process. I maybe assume a few of you are already familiar, but we kind of wanted to show you. So and this is all on the federal side. So va.gov is a very obviously a common website, and you can see is they've also kind of created their 4 key areas if you wanted to apply for benefits. As you can see, you can find out more information about your healthcare, disability claims and compensation, applying for your education benefits, whether that's post 9/11 GI Bill, veteran readiness and employment, formerly known as vocational rehab, and records management as well. So you can kind of click on each one of those areas and get started as well. So yeah, I'm just clicking through here to show you kind of how you can navigate each one of those. So you're probably familiar with the eBenefits web portal. eBenefits is a great way for you to track and manage all of the benefits that you're in receipt of. You can file a claim for disability through eBenefits. We do, however, recommend always working with an accredited veteran service representative before you file your claim. It's just a way to make sure that you have the proper representation on your claim and that your claim is fully developed before it goes to VA for review. But like I said, you can manage and track through eBenefits if you choose to do so. So just be familiar with that. For your healthcare needs, there is My Health eVet, and that will allow you to do things like refill your prescriptions, schedule appointments with your VA primary care physician, send messages back and forth, and download and review your personal health records. So My Health eVet, if you're in the VA healthcare system and receiving care at the VA, that's where you can go to log in, create your profile, and really manage your healthcare more directly. So that pretty much covers it for the overview of the CalTAP program. Like I said, if you're interested in finding a little bit more about some of those pathways that I mentioned earlier outside of the core curriculum, feel free to navigate those. We really just wanted to plant that seed of information to show you where you can go to kind of get started on all of those modules. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, if there's something you had a question on and I didn't cover it enough in detail for you, please send me an email. My name is Derek Rose. Again, I'll be happy to connect with you and take all the time I need to, or that you need, I should say, to help you get plugged into the resources here in California. So with that, I will go ahead and transition over to Anthony Rodriguez. He is our local interagency network coordinator for the Los Angeles region, and he's going to speak to you a little bit more about what he does in Los Angeles County and how he can get you plugged into some local resources as well. So with that, Anthony, take it away.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here. I noticed there's about 22 of you guys, and welcome, and looking forward to sharing some information with you. Also, I'd wanted to acknowledge that Robert Alvarez is on the call. Robert is the veteran liaison for the 5th District of LA County. So Robert, thank you for being here. So let me talk about what I do here. So next page, please. I am the link. I am it's a play on words, the local interagency network coordinator. Another word to say what I do is I'm kind of a regional field agent. And in my capacity and my job, I provide outreach to active duty service members. I frequently call on bases. I work with veterans. I work with reservists, National Guard, and families of veterans, all with the hope to help them get the maximum amount of benefits they can, state and federal. So I make a lot of referrals to a lot of agencies. I have a pretty big area of connection with a lot of groups. I try very hard to be someone that knows people and knows experts in the area of housing, healthcare, mental health, education, and employment. And I work with all eras from, we're still getting vets that are World War II, Korean era vets, all the way down to those that are just getting out. So lots of different needs and in lots of different ways. I also help with the local emergencies. I was active with the fire that we had out in the San Gabriel Valley just recently, the Bobcat fire, as well. Last year, I worked on the Tick fire and the Saddle Ridge fire. And what we do when we go to these events is we provide specific services just for veterans who have lost their home during the fire, and we make connections with them so that they're not left alone. And additionally, what I do is provide leadership and advocacy as a representative of the state of California within the local area that I live, that is the city, county, and regional area. Next page. This is a map of all the links in California. The position that I have, link, is very unique, and there probably isn't another position like it anywhere in the country. And as far as I know, there's no position like it in the VA. And what we do different is that we take the services to you. We go to you. This is a map of all the links, and they're color coordinated in the areas that we cover, the regions that we cover. My area is the turquoise in the bottom, and I cover the Los Angeles and the Ventura County areas. And we all are responsible for about 290 to 350,000 veterans or so, approximately, in each of our respective regions. And there's a name and a email address for each of these members. And if you would like to take a photo of this, if you know someone, a veteran, or who lives in one of these areas that has questions about how they can get help, or if you yourself are going to go back to one of these areas, this would be a great photo to take, or you can talk to me later and I'll be happy to have that for you. Next page, please. So that map illustrates just how unique our position is and how we go out into the field and what we do. So we have the freedom to kind of make our own plans and our own, go where we think there's need and join those programs where we think are, important. We do a lot of assessing as we look at the needs of and for veterans in our specific areas. And we have the authority and discretion to assist those veterans in finding needs. I'm often putting groups together. And for example, I just recently brought together and I'm working with the Department of Rehabilitation and College of the Canyons as they have an educational program specifically outside of the federal educational program and outside of CalVet. And hopefully they'll provide more services as well. Next page. So as I mentioned, I work very hard to be an expert in veteran services on the federal, state, and local level. And one of the maybe the greatest things that I can provide is really an understanding to how things work. The VA system is very complicated, and there is not one single place that you can go to get all your VA answers, all your answers about benefits. So often what I do is explain the process of things on a federal, state, local level, on a nonprofit level, and all the different areas, that we help veterans. So maybe that may be one of the greatest things that I do. And so next page. This is my contact information. Please give me a call if I can help you in any of these areas that I've mentioned. That's why I'm here. This is my cell number, the 213 number, along with my email address. And again, if there's any questions you have or any, you're not sure how the programs work, how the home loan works, or you want to get a recommendation on anything, I'd be happy to help you in those areas. So I thank you for your time. I'll turn it back over to you, Derek. Thanks again.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, next I would like to introduce Marie Barros with US Vets Outside the Wire. We're very honored that you're able to join us today. And Marie, I will go ahead and turn it over to you, and the floor is yours, and just let me know when to navigate the slides for you. But with that, feel free to take it away. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you so much, Derek. Good morning, everyone. I see some familiar faces out there. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to thank CalVets and CalTAPs for inviting me today to do this presentation. I also want to thank the College of the Canyons for co-hosting this webinar this morning. So my name is, again, Marie Barros, and I'm a marriage and family licensed therapist. I work for US Vets. US Vets is the largest nonprofit agency that provides service to veterans. I work with Outside the Wire. Outside the Wire is a program that goes out to local community colleges, and we provide free mental health services and case management to the student veterans and their families. Typically, we're housed on site at the school at the VRC, the Veterans Resource Center, but with the changes that we're going through, clearly we're doing everything virtual. However, we've been fortunate that we can continue to provide the mental health services and the case management ongoing to the students and to their families. And so that's been really wonderful for us to do. Today, I've been asked to come here and talk about coping. How are we coping with COVID and a number of different things that we're going through? And really, how are we doing? It's been 7 months, and how are we all doing? I know that it's been challenging for me personally, and it's been challenging from people that I know in my life. But today I want to look at how are our veterans doing? How is the veterans and the families that we're working with doing? So full disclosure, I am not a veteran. However, I've been working with the veteran community for several years. And one of the things that I've noticed, certainly in the years that I've worked with, but more so even now, is that sense of I have to do it right. I have to do it just right. And that is understandable because veterans come from a community where they had to do it just right. Sometimes it was a life or death situation where it had to be just right. And so that continues in their life right now in everything that they're doing. It has to be just perfect. It's never quite enough. It has to be perfect how they do their work at school. It has to be perfect how they take care of their family. It has to be perfect how they are able to pay their bills and making sure that they're meeting all the requirements. And that is a high standard to meet up to be just perfect. And today, if that's you, whether you're a veteran or you're somebody from one of the faculties that is present today, if that's you that's always looking for that level of perfection, can you take a moment and one, identify that that's you, but also maybe say, what if everything isn't just right? What if everything isn't just perfect? What would it be like for you to feel that you're still okay? That you're still okay. And so this morning, what I'd like to do is to have the opportunity to go through and identify different things that all of us may be experiencing, but certainly the veteran students, and allow you at the end of this presentation to maybe know that no matter where you're at, you're okay. You're still okay. So, what I'm going to be focusing on this morning will be on depression and self care. Depression, because it's a topic that's been talked about quite a bit, but I know that a lot of veterans have been experiencing mood changes, but they haven't quite been able to identify what it is that they're feeling. So, today I'm going to talk a little bit about it and hopefully allow you to kind of name what it is that you're experiencing. And then self care will certainly be focusing a lot more on different ways that you can kind of find different avenues that maybe you haven't explored before on how to self care. Next slide, please. And how I'm going to do that is one, again, acknowledge all the challenges that we're going through. Again, recognize what it is that you're experiencing so you can name it. And then self care. I'm encouraging you to stay open minded. I might be suggesting some things that you think are a little outside the box for you, but I would encourage you to maybe explore some things. My goal is that maybe you will utilize one or two things as you start a wellness toolkit. A wellness toolkit is something that I would encourage you to start putting together, and I'll explain that a little bit more. Next slide, please. So 2020 has been pretty challenging. And so again, some of the things that we've been experiencing has been COVID, and COVID has been impacting all of us in many areas, but certainly the shelter lockdown has impacted the way that we used to cope, how we used to manage, how we used to be able to do our lives without necessarily being concerned about going outside, seeing our friends. So COVID has impacted us tremendously, and how we learn and how we're going to school. Social unrest, political issues, the 24-hour news cycle, the riots, the protests, the social media. You know, some of you may have experienced some unemployment, some financial issues that are starting to impact a lot of people. I know that in my community, every time I walk down the street, it seems like one more business has shut down. So there's a lot of things that are impacting us at this point. Next slide, please. So again, I want to talk about depression, and depression is pretty prevalent not only in our community, but in the world. It is the number one cause of disability worldwide. And it's estimated that 25% of the world population experiences depression. That's 1 in 4. That's pretty high numbers. But often people get confused with depression and sadness. I think they minimize if they're experiencing depression because they think, well, I'm just going through a phase. But I want to take a moment to kind of identify a little bit of the difference between the two. Both are a sense of having dark clouds over you and can feel very uncomfortable. However, sadness is usually a brief emotional reaction. It's an emotional state. We have a range of emotions that are very healthy for us to have. Sadness is one of those. It's important that we can experience sadness. It is usually specific. It's usually based on a specific incident that happened that you can subjectively identify as, well, you know, I'm feeling sad, but you can know why. I'm sad because my mother died, or I'm sad because I had a disappointing interview. So you're able to identify what it is. And it's usually short term, and it does affect your mood. However, it affects your mood, you can experience depression, but you can still laugh and smile and still be experiencing other emotions. On the other end, depression doesn't go away. Depression is considered a mental illness, and it's persistent and chronic. It's vague. You usually get this dark shadow that just comes over you, and people will say, well, what are you depressed about? And it's even a depressing question because you can't identify the source. You just know you have this general depressed feeling. It's objective and obvious on excuse me, on inability to be diagnosed with depression. You usually excuse me, have to have a professional give you a diagnosis, and I will discuss this in the next slide as to some of the criteria or symptoms that you may be having. It's also long-term, and the long-term consequences are huge. They can impact you in many ways. It affects all areas of your life. It is the functional impairments in your schooling, work, relationships. It really kind of covers all areas of your life. And if not treated, it won't go away. Next slide, please. So here are some symptoms of depression. And notice if this is something that you've experienced, or equally as important, notice if you have a loved one that you've noticed these things. And that is a loss of interest in previous pleasurable activities, a decrease in energy, motivation, and constantly feeling tired, difficult concentrating and making decisions, even small decisions, feeling a sense of hopelessness, worthlessness, or guilt, kind of waking up in the morning and just not feeling like, gosh, it's another day. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Sleeping problems, constantly feeling like you want to sleep or having difficulty sleeping. Low appetite or increased appetite. Irritability, everything irritates you. Everything kind of makes you irritated, including sometimes noises and the sounds or bright lights. There's a constant irritability and sensitivity. You're feeling anxious all the time. And there's thoughts of suicide and self-harm. If you can relate to some of these, I really would encourage you to reach out and get some support, because these things are treatable. However, if ignored, it can get worse. Next slide, please. So what some of the things that I want to look at is what are you as a student veteran on campus experiencing that you're not on campus now, that you're actually learning virtually and having to experience different things that you haven't experienced. So some of the things that I have certainly noticed from some of the clients that I'm working with is that virtual learning is challenging because it may not be the way that you learn best. Ironically, some people really enjoy that. Some people find that the online learning is something that they really enjoy, but a majority of people are having some challenges with it. You are having to navigate through the Canvas school system and the Zoom, ongoing Zoom sessions, and you're fatigued. You're just pretty wiped out in doing any more of these virtual learnings. You're unable to connect to your professors, even though they have been so generous to give you some office hours. Sometimes by the time you connect with them with emails, you're not able to connect in a timely manner. But also be mindful that your professors and your faculty and other peoples are experiencing a lot of the similar things that you're going to. So that's not an excuse, but that's just something to be aware of, that we're all experiencing a lot of what's going on. There's also time management issues, and that time management can range from, gosh, what day of the week is it? Mondays is running into Wednesday, Thursday, and you don't even know when the weekend starts. But also time management in your home. You're doing Zoom sessions, but you may also have other family members, certainly children who are doing learning via by virtual learning. Where do you find the times and the space to be able to have everyone have that time to do what they need to do? So finding the location, but also finding the time. So time management can be very challenging. You also find that you have things to do and that you're not managing your time in a way that is supporting you. You have poor concentration and focus. You have low motivation, so it's difficult to get going. You're getting behind on your assignments, and it started with one or maybe two assignments, but now you're finding that you may have to drop a class, and dropping a class may impact your GI Bill, and that may in return impact your finances, your ability to pay your bills, and maybe you have someone in your home who's lost a job, so financial constraints are also being impacted in your life. You're mentally exhausted. You're just tired. And no matter how much sleep you get, you're always tired. No matter how much you try to relax, you're just physically tired all the time. That's leading you to sometimes avoid your responsibilities. That may not necessarily just being daily things that you have to do, but also even eating, finding time to eat, and difficulty doing your tasks, your laundry, trying to get all of that done, but it's difficult to get it all done. And you're angry, and rightfully so, but you don't even know who you're angry at or what you're angry at, but you know that you have this constant feeling of anger that you're not sure really how to use that energy. And then if you're a parent, you're juggling all sorts of things. You're juggling childcare. If you're doing homeschooling, you're being asked to help your students, your children to do things that you don't even know what you're doing. I mean, I know I was helping someone with math and I thought, good grief, I need a training on this. So it's overwhelming to have to learn some of these things. Some individuals are dealing by utilizing substance. That could be drinking, that could be other forms of drugs, but that's how they're numbing and that's how they're checking out. That makes situations even worse, but that's where they're at this point. And if you're experiencing depression and anxiety, there's this constant knot in your stomach, or it may be in your neck, or you may be having some physical challenges. But that knot doesn't go away. It just makes you feel incredibly uncomfortable all the time. No matter what you do, there's always more to do. It's never enough. There's always something else you need to do. And then there's a sense of feeling overwhelmed. People react different when they feel overwhelmed. Some people get stuck and just kind of don't know what they're going to be doing next. Others go and do a million things at once, and you're running around going. And quite frankly, you're exhausted, but you're not really doing anything in a way that meets your standards. And then that causes guilt, and then the self-judgment, and then back to that, it's not just right. So then it just starts that whole cycle again. So there's a lot of things that the student veterans are, and most of us are experiencing right now. Next slide, please. So as I talk about self-care, I want to start with this concept first. And it's really around what do we focus on? This is called the Circle of Influence, and this was developed by a gentleman named Steve Covey. He did a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he found that highly effective people, and this was focused a lot on business, really focus on what they can control. They don't spend a lot of time focusing on those things that's out of their control. So I want to take a moment to help you be mindful of what that is for you. So currently, I'm going to be talking about this outer circle first, which is the circle that I would say the circle of concerns. And then there's an inner circle, which is a circle of our influence. But the circle of concerns are those things in our lives that cause us to worry and to be upset about, and we may have some really high opinions about and feelings about. But really, when you stop and look, you realize that you don't have control over any of these areas. And COVID, I mean, can we really control when we go back to our normal routines? No. Can we control the political issues that are going on right now, which is really heating up because it's coming close to election? You can have an opinion about it, but can you really affect the change in a global way? Social unrest, some of these things that are going on, you have a strong feeling about it, but you really don't have the ability to kind of control it, have that influence. The next slide, please. However, this circle, which is the circle of influence and the circles of control, this is the circle that you want to enlarge. You want to get to the point where the blue circle is kind of in the rearview mirror. It's there, you're aware of it, but it's not in the forefront. You want it in the rearview mirror, and you want this circle to be what's in the forefront and what has your attention. These are the areas that can empower you and give you the ability to really make a difference. You can't control what's going on out in as far as COVID, but you certainly can have an attitude about how you're going to make it best within your home, within your environment, and what's within your control. You can start looking at those areas and put your energy into those things versus looking at the news and seeing how many people are getting cases and how many deaths. You can focus in on what's within your control. You can look at what you want to listen to. You can certainly choose who you're going to be able to interact with, who you want to listen to, what information are you going to look at, how are you going to disseminate the information that's provided to you. And so allowing yourself to really hone in on what's within your control. Once you've identified what those things are, it's wonderful to work with your family and start looking at, here are the things that we have as challenges. How do we as a family, or how as we as maybe a roommate, how do you work on these things so you can support each other? These kind of huge global issues. And so that's important. I would really encourage you, as you're moving forward in your life, to constantly ask yourself, what I'm upset about right now, is there anything I can do about it? If the answer is no, write it down on a piece of paper and burn it, throw it away. I would really encourage you to look at this list here and look at the areas where you really can look at and go, I have no control. Write that list of those 3 items, throw them away, and then write a list of the things that are within your control. Focus on those. You want that yellow circle to enlarge. And again, to be highly effective in our lives, it's really focusing and putting our energy into those things that we can control and that we can put our energy into. So as we look at self-care really has the opportunity for us to take care of ourselves, but really let's be mindful on what is it we're focusing on. Next slide, please. So when we look at self-care, there are about 5 areas that are really important for you to give attention to. And those are certainly around your physical needs, your mental and emotional needs, your social and relationship needs and support that you need from family and friends, and also your lifestyle, how the activities that you're doing, what is it that you're doing to create some balance in your life. Those are all areas that need attention and are really important. And I will just say that on physical, or actually in mental, kind of goes into physical and emotional. If you're dealing with depression, the model of someone who deals with depression is get up, get dressed, go outside. Get up, get dressed, go outside. And that means get up, put on street clothes, and go outside, take a walk around the block. Those are hard to do, but if you can master to do that, your day will look completely different. But today I really want to focus on self-care that speaks to, the body, mental, and soul. But I really want to focus on an area that we don't necessarily spend a lot of time on, and that is, how do we feel? How do we feed our soul? How do we really go in and take care of that area that we don't really focus on? Next slide, please. So this is the area that falls under spiritual. And spirituality has a lot of different meanings for different people. Spirituality is a very personal experience. You may have experienced spirituality growing up in your family based on an ideology, an organized religion. Maybe you participate in that religion now, and that's wonderful. I'm also talking about something a little broader, and that is spirituality that encompasses more of a spiritual an experience. It could be an experience in nature, it could be an experience in art, music, dance. It's some sort of form of self-expression. But whatever that is, the goal is really to create a sense of sacred space, creating a sacred space that is your very own. It's very individually focused. This is kind of a mostly you, me, myself, and I kind of activity, and you certainly can have other people involved, but this is really focused on how you take care of yourself and how you take the time to really focus on things that you can do for yourself. So first is meditation. I think most people know what that is. Prayer. Uncluttering your space. This seems, especially right now in this time, where we are in our homes and we may not really feel like we have our own little private space, and maybe it feels uncluttered. And often when we feel cluttery around us, sometimes that's a person's personality, and that's perfectly fine. But sometimes there's clutter that kind of impacts your mind. So if your environment's cluttered, your mind can also be cluttered. So sometimes changing that around and organizing that, you might find a different level of energy that kind of emerges. Sometimes your space, you have some limitations right now because maybe you're living with your family, or you have roommates, and that space is hard to carve out a little space for yourself. I know someone who uses closet. They've identified that as their little private space, and so that's where they have their little they've created their space. But within your space, one of the things that you could also do is cleanse the space. And American Indians do a practice called smudging. And what that is they light sage, incense, or cedar. And they really have their belief is that they clean the space so that it's clean and more inviting. They do that sometimes when they have meetings of people and there's conflict or things that are going on in the home. They will sage their place. If they're watching news and they or saw a movie, they'll sage it. So that may sound a little woo-woo for some of you, but it's something that could be something that you might want to try. Then practice silence. And when I mean practice silence, I don't mean practice silence with an intention. It's not prayer and it's not meditation, but really just be in silence. Get a cup of coffee and just sit in silence and see what that feels like for you. Expression of compassion. I know for veterans, this is probably a really tough one. And I would suggest that in order to connect to that compassion, one of the best ways to do that is sometimes to connect with children. I think when we see children, we have an incredible amount of compassion and our heart kind of opens up. I would encourage you to find a picture of yourself when you were younger, and put it in a frame and allow yourself to look at that picture. Often we can have compassion for even looking at a picture that we can't have for our adult selves. Try this. If you, you know, have disappointed, were disappointed by something and found yourself really not feeling like there's anyone you can talk to, try looking at that picture and see if you can have compassion for yourself. It sounds, again, something really outside the box, but it's something very powerful that I would highly encourage you to maybe consider doing. The other thing is, how do we bring nature into our lives, especially during this time? One way is to bring some nature inside your home. It could be flowers, it could be a waterfall, it could be some leaves. There's some beautiful leaves and twigs, and maybe create a centerpiece, but something that brings your nature in the house. One way that you can also do, and that's really helpful to ground yourself, is go outside, put your hands in the dirt. If you're not a gardener, this may seem a little weird, but go put your hands in the dirt. Go barefoot and put your feet in the dirt and kind of just feel what it feels like to get grounded to the earth. It's really kind of a wonderful experience that I would highly encourage you to maybe try doing that. And if you're lucky enough that you can go to maybe a beach, then build a sandcastle. And again, this is all kind of connecting to, things that you used to do when you were younger. Let that little boy and little girl in you, that fun aspect of you come out, and maybe break the rules and get your hands dirty, which could be kind of fun. Practice self-forgiveness. I know this is a foreign concept for a lot of people, but it again falls kind of in line with what I'm talking about with spending some time with yourself, is that really recognizing that I have to do it right and that it's not enough. There is so much judgment that comes in to what you're doing, and really giving yourself permission to say, hey, I'm doing the best I can. And again, looking at that picture might be very helpful of yourself as a young child. Journaling, when you're looking at doing any of these practices, if some things come up that you want to write down, take the time to do that, to write on your journal. One of the things that is difficult to do is to find out what brings you joy and happiness. I know that when I talk to clients, that's a difficult thing for them to access. But maybe as you're doing some of these practices, you might be able to start accessing, if you're building a sandcastle, it might remind you of some things that you did in the past that were really fun, so that you can start identifying what is fun for you and that you enjoy. The other thing is aromatherapy. Scents, having different aromas can be really relaxing and calming. I like lavender. There's bergamot that I also like, and there's a variety of different scents. So you might try it. Depending on the oils you get, you can actually put them on your neck and you can smell that smell, and it can kind of just calm you throughout the day. Go out hiking or gaze at the stars on a clear night. I know that one of my co-workers who's here enjoys stargazing, and that really is quite fun. I actually did that a couple of weeks ago. So try doing that. Again, it brings you into a calm place. Yoga is a great way to connect to your body. Community, whatever your spiritual community becomes, whatever it is that you find is something that you enjoy doing, connect to the community that's doing that, so you can have that support and maybe find ways to do some of these activities together. But again, the community, there's a lot of support for different things that I have on this list. Read inspiring material. I know as students right now, the last thing you want to do is read something, but find maybe something to read before you go to bed. I would also include there rituals. Sometimes doing rituals that, for example, you have difficulty falling asleep, putting in place a ritual before you go to bed. Maybe turning off the TV, taking a hot bath, reading something inspiring, to really just make a demarcation between your day and going to sleep. Yesterday we were on a call that somebody said that in order to change the day, he works downstairs, and at the end of the day he has to go upstairs, so that just means that's the end of his day. So again, if you're in a situation where you have limited space, maybe implement some routines that will allow you to kind of end your day and prepare maybe to go to sleep, or to prepare to do something that you want to do different. Also, eat mindfully. I think sometimes we forget to eat, but also sometimes we just swallow our foods, and then that causes additional problems. Think about eating mindfully, maybe sitting outside and eating a sandwich in nature, but being mindful of really tasting your food, really feeling what you're eating. And then finally, unplugging, literally unplugging from the computer, from the phone, from other people, just really, and I'm not saying isolation, I'm just saying focused unplugging to allow you to really focus on what you want to do. Next slide, please. So here's the wellness kit that I want to encourage you to start putting together. It could be a physical kit, it could kind of be a metaphor kit, but start really identifying the things that you have in your toolbox that are there for you to go to when you need them most. We all have people in our lives that we can't always be able to pick up the phone and call them, but we always can access ourselves. So some of the things that I would encourage you to ask yourself as you're looking at putting your toolbox together is, what gives you a sense of home? What makes you really feel like you're surrounded in a wonderful place that feels supported and sacred to you? What gives you a sense of community? Again, what are the people that uplift you and bring you up and make you feel supported and loved? What allows you to feel self-supported? And this really is all of the things that I was just talking about. How do you look at finding ways to really take care of yourself and focus on really a lot of loving and self-support towards yourself? And then what helps you to get grounded? You know, we talked about a couple of things, but it's important to know what gets grounded. Um, Starting with, what am I focusing on? It's really important to identify what are you focusing on, and to stop yourself before you get carried away with something that you can't control. And then mostly, that I think is important and challenging for most clients, and certainly in my experience, is how do you connect to fun and joy? And fun and joy, again, if you're doing some of these activities, you might trip on fun and joy. So I hope that that can help you with some things. And the next slide. And I like this quote because almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. I know that when the copier machine doesn't work, I unplug it and my computer. But I also think it's important we are mindful that unplugging ourselves once in a while is really important. Thank you for your time, and I hope you can utilize some of these things in the next couple of weeks to experiment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie. That was such great information, and we're just so thankful that you're able to join us today. I just even know for myself, I had some key takeaways from that. So thank you so much, and we hope everybody else got some great information, and we're happy you're able to join us and happy to share that with you today. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I just wanted to show this on your behalf, Marie. This is some resources for U.S. vets. There's Marie's contact information, as well as the Veterans Crisis Line. We wanted to share that with you as well. So Marie, if that's okay, I'd like to just share your email as you put it right there, if anybody has any questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Please feel free to contact us. We'd love to hear from you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so that basically covers the presentation for today. So at this time, we would like to open it up to a virtual Q&A panel. I believe my colleague Kirk has been monitoring some of the chats that have come in. So with that, Kirk, if you wanted to maybe jump on and facilitate some of those, if there were appropriate questions that came through.
Well, we just had a couple thank yous, Derek, and we had no questions so far in the chat. We had one from Lee, Omega Lee, about the resource book, if it was going to be available in a hard copy for them. I told them directed them to our publications website and ordering publications, and stated that we do have the downloadable PDF available, as well as the web link for our resource book. And other than that, I haven't received any questions.
Kurt, if I might
Okay.
add on that with the book, once the new books will hit the streets, which may be January or so, typically I'll get access to those, and if someone makes a request, I may be able to bring it over to one of the local groups, and they may be able to get a hard copy that way.
Great,
Great.
Kirk. And I was just able to pull up the chat just now, and it looks like you've already sent so much information. So that's great. And it's important to note, and you've already mentioned that this webinar will be posted on our Calvet website for review later, as well as some of our other specific series that we've covered. So we really want to direct folks who are interested in learning more or kind of recapping to view our website as well once we get it posted.
And Derek, I've also posted the survey also in the chat. So if they have any time, we want to thank them and have their feedback in the chat as well in the survey.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for that, Kirk, as well. If you have the time to take that survey, that'll really help us out going forward for the rest of our presentations, though. So thank you so much again. Lastly, I just wanted to share just a recap of the contact information today. There's myself with my phone number and email, with Anthony for the LA link, and Marie Barros as well. So feel free to take a snapshot if you'd like. But with that, I think we're ready to conclude for the day. So we want to thank you so much, and thank you to College of the Canyons for allowing us to host this webinar again. Anthony, Marie, thank you so much. Look forward to working with you all in the future, and to all of our attendees, thank you again. We hope that you got some valuable information, and have a great rest of your morning and rest of your week. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.